You remember the manipulation, the devastating emails, the fines for Barclays, UBS, and others. Now, NYSE Euronext is taking over Libor, the London interbank offered rate, as it's formerly known, from the British Bankers Association. Bloomberg's Liam Vaughan has been following this story the whole way along in London. Liam, let's begin with what exactly is happening to Libor. What's it going to, if not look like? How is NYSE Euronext going to be handling this, say, differently from the way that it's been run by the British Bankers Association?
I mean, it's a good question. It's not entirely clear, to be honest. The British Bankers Association ran the rate since 1986 and was kind of roundly criticised for failing to spot some of the issues that later arose with banks rigging the rate, and also failed to kind of respond to criticisms that actually maybe the rate was being rigged. You know, one of the issues is that the BBA's members are the big banks that actually submit to the rate, so maybe there wasn't the real impetus to kind of dig deep and find out what was going on. There's been a tender process, and now, as you rightly point out, the New York Stock Exchange is going to take responsibility for overseeing the rate from here on in.
Liam, hang on one second. I
Sure.
mentioned the fines that Barclays paid, for example, and this was the scandal that forced out the CEO, Bob Diamond, and also UBS. But remind us how much scandal Libor has been mired in, and the credibility that it has cost what remains a benchmark rate, but certainly one that has far less integrity, perhaps, than it once did.
Sure. I mean, the London interbank offered rate originally started out as the rate that was used in kind of syndicated loan markets, but it kind of grew exponentially over a number of years, and now is the benchmark for, trillions and trillions of securities, everything from your mortgage to your student loan, to kind of billions of derivatives exchanging hands every day. That rate was being manipulated by, relatively small numbers of traders at the world's biggest banks for small benefits. Very small movements led to big benefits in terms of their kind of bonuses. Over a period of time, that was discovered mostly by US regulators, to be honest, and you have to say that the UK, whether that be the UK regulator or the UK as a financial centre, didn't come across particularly well. And I suspect that there's a part of the reason to hand this to the New York Stock Exchange is symbolic more than anything else. It's to kind of let you guys have a go and wash our hands of it slightly.
Liam, we should remind everybody that Bloomberg was among the bidders that wanted to take over management of Libor from the BBA, but there was a widespread expectation that it was going to go to a company that had experience, like Bloomberg does for that matter, but also Dow Jones, for example, or S&P or Market in managing indexes or indices, as opposed to, say, the New York Stock Exchange, which doesn't really. So what's the expectation as to whether this is going to restore the credibility of Libor?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, the points that you raise might actually have been a benefit, for their case. They can say, we're coming at this afresh, we are experienced in kind of financial data as a firm, but we're not tarnished by some of the issues that you raise with regards to benchmarks, not just Libor, but as we've seen since they're, benchmarks used across the financial system. I wasn't there in the room when the decisions were made, but I would suggest that maybe that was part of the strength. But I just, one point I want to raise is that ultimately this is still going to be the same rate. The mechanism for setting the rate is exactly the same. Maybe the motivation for banks to actually rig it has gone, but there are still kind of fundamental questions about whether Libor is still fit for purpose. So, for example, Gary Gensler has been quite vociferous in his critique of the fact that banks every day still have to make up submissions to this rate. Most of the banks don't change their submissions daily, and that really questions about whether Libor is fit for purpose. So I'm not sure whether giving it to the New York Stock Exchange is really going to change that, but time will tell.